Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Big Joel Show. Very excited today. Today I've got Clayton Collins with me. He is the president and CEO of HousingWire, and I'm really excited to talk to him. We don't know each other. We're just meeting. I almost had him here in studio, and then he got rerouted. So he's coming at us live from you're at the home base in Dallas, correct?
Yes, sir. We are based here in Las Colinas, right outside of Dallas, near the DFW airport.
That's right. DFW, I call it the concrete jungle. There's more concrete going on in DFW than any place else. And, Clayton is a super interesting guy. I've seen him do some other interviews, and I was excited to talk to him. Clayton, my audience is, anyone selling anything, but mainly a lot of loan officers, real estate agents, brokers, mortgage executives, a lot of people. Those are the main people that watch this. So I'm sure, I hear every day, this is so common every day. Well, did you see blah on HousingWire? Did you see on HousingWire? Did you see? You have, very quickly really become the go-to. So tell me a little bit about you and HousingWire to start before I want to ask your opinion on some things.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Originally from Vero Beach, Florida, worked in New York at Citibank and Royal Bank of Canada, spent a little time in North Carolina. So venturing out here to Dallas is really my first time off the East Coast. So it would have been a lot easier to get to you in DC if I was still in
it's all good.
First 30 years of my life on the East Coast. But I grew up around the financial services industry. Coming into HousingWire I had a really kind of fortuitous kind of launching point. My dad is a mortgage broker, so I grew up around the industry. From my very first called a job, it's really a chore, like being 8 years old, helping him set up furniture when he opened up his first mortgage brokerage branch, and then being in middle school, high school, and helping him put kind of the manila envelope files into Excel, so he had a CRM list to start working off of. I've been around the industry long before I was ready to actually have a real job, which is kind of no idea I was building up a knowledge base for what would become my career, but it's turned out to be a pretty important base of knowledge as where I am today at HousingWire, with the fortune of providing information and news to mortgage and real estate executives and professionals across the country.
So tell me a little bit, share with everybody how it works. I hear all the time, I constantly am talking to loan officers and real estate agents. I mean, it's just, you guys are a tech savvy media outlet really for our industry, and you guys get stuff on the wire fast. So, I mean, you guys usually know, before anybody else what's going on. How does that work? Do you have reporters? Tell everyone how it works a little bit, and then I want to ask you some questions.
Yeah, so HousingWire was founded 10 years ago, and that 10-year mark is really important for us because it means that we were founded in a time where the news environment and the media landscape was already in the full swing transition to the digital world. So we were founded as a digital-first media company. So all of the editors and the marketers and the executives that were hired for the business had that digital-first lean and were very comfortable with technology and evaluating solutions, not just for today, but keeping us ahead 2-3 years and planning a really important technology roadmap so we can stay fast and stay nimble and be able to reach our audience where they are. So when you kind of go back 10 years and you see how HousingWire has evolved, coming right out of the financial crisis, we had a heavy focus on the servicing market and secondary markets, and our audience was really built around executives in the mortgage origination, servicing, and secondary markets. As you watch where the industry has evolved, so have we, and we've been able to really kind of transition our coverage to better monitoring what's happening in the rate environment as we've watched the rates kind of continually kind of come down over the last decade, or more than decade, but decade for us, and watch the transition from what was the biggest housing crash in our country's history to what's been a really hot and vibrant origination market. And so as we've watched what's happened in the news cycle, we've been able to continue to adjust our team and bring in the right people to cover those beats and cover them very quickly.
Yeah, it's the rate thing, you bring that up. It's interesting. I was just talking to another let's just say older person like myself, that there are generations. There's a generation of loan officers. We were just talking about this, about taking loans into their pipeline and not locking them. They're just basically not locked, and they drive ops crazy, and it drives everybody crazy. And I'm saying to them, the reason you're doing this is you're not hedging the market, because Dodd-Frank, it doesn't matter. You're the biggest dummy in the room if your whole pipeline's not locked, because you don't make any more money by having it be unlocked. When you're not hedging the market, you can't make any more. You make what you make. And they're just doing it, because they're lazy. But the main reason they're doing it is they've never actually seen the rates go up. So they haven't been caught, with a whole pipeline full of stuff that went up 1%. And it's funny that you bring that up. There's a generation of loan officers that have honestly never really seen the rates go up.
There's also a generation of reporters. We had a very serious conversation last year of a reporter that'd been with HousingWire for 5 years and didn't know what a rising rate environment was, and just like how that was going to impact the coverage, and what storylines and who she needed to be talking to effectively cover a rising rate environment. And now the last year has played out a little bit different than we thought it was last summer, but it's very funny to kind of think that people who started their career in the last decade have just seen nothing but rates go down, whether you're a originator, a real estate agent, or a reporter covering agents and originators.
So for loan officers, for agents, we could go any place you want. Your thumb, your whole hand is really on the pulse of what's going on. This is a broad question, but technology, the agents, everybody's up in arms right now with the lead gen. People are, I teach, by the way, very relationship based selling. I teach that your job is, not to write contracts or do loans. I teach that your job is to find people who know people who need those services, become best friends with them, and get them to refer the people to you. I teach people your job is to get referrals.
Yep.
Which means the technology for me has never really been a big deal. That's not really my client base, big lead gen people. But there's a whole subset of our world, and I'm going to call it our because you're in it with me, our world of loan officers and real estate agents that have built massive platforms, spending a lot of money, on lead gen every month, that I'm seeing almost daily trying to run away from it because of all the press. Just call it around Zillow, but we don't have to talk about Zillow, but around the press of lead gen. What do you see with that? What's your crystal ball? What are you watching go down right in front of you?
So our driving force at HousingWire is moving markets forward, and for us that means the markets that we cover, that we care about, are the mortgage and real estate market. So any news or information we can cover, or themes or storylines over the long term that will help our audience move markets forward, is something we care about. One of the themes that we've spent a lot of time kind of developing and thinking about and writing on for the last 3 years has been digital plus local. And I think that digital plus local theme kind of is directly aligned with that ethos you're talking about, of the originator's job is to drive referrals. And I think that the best originators we're seeing in today's market have an extremely solid foundation in their local community. They have those personal relationships, and they know how to drive referrals. And it's not all about the digital mortgage or the digital advertising process. They're not running consumer direct models. This is about actually knowing realtors and knowing their kids' names, and maybe being involved in schools, and really having that local presence, but having digital processes that enable them to be more effective and more impactful than their peers that haven't adopted the technology or digital processes. So as we think about what the news we want to cover, the originators that we want to talk to, the storylines that will help the mortgage originator be around for decades and centuries to come, we think that digital plus local focus and enablement and just mindset is extremely important to what we're all trying to achieve here.
So we could do mic drop and end it right now. By the way, Clayton and I just met each other, but he's like my brother from another mother, basically what he just said. Clayton, I used to say years ago when I used to do training and for loan officers, and I would say high tech, low touch equals little money. Like you'd have a problem. If you just spend all your money on tech and low touch, now it's high tech, high touch, which is exactly what you just said. And the way I describe it, everyone has these origination platforms where they're dumping people into their quote unquote online app at 100 miles an hour without even thinking about it. And, I call that thing a steel ball. And what I say to people is your job is to put a fur coat on that steel ball, meaning I want you to use the steel ball, but you're throwing a consumer in there, and then you're asking them, what your kids' ages are. And they're like, why? Why are you even asking me like this? And you just tossed them in there to be efficient, okay? And you're really not efficient because your pull through is horrible, because you're throwing people in and it's not going through. And I just want to paraphrase, I knew exactly what Clayton was saying when he said digital plus local. I want to just paraphrase that. Digital plus local means high tech, high touch, meaning use the technology, but get your butt out of your chair and be in the community. Meaning, and if you use both, not to put words in your mouth, but that's what you're seeing the most successful loan officers. They are using both. They're leveraging both correctly. Is that a fair paraphrase for what you just said?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, the people that I feel like are in a dangerous spot right now are the originators who have been so high touch. They've had their head in the sand on technology, and technology is changing our industry. It's going to continue to, but it's not. The difference between changing an industry and completely disrupting a job category are very different. And for a job category, in this circumstance, we're talking about originators and agents, to continue being an extremely important part of the transaction, you got to have that high focus on adopting the right tools to make you more efficient and make more money. Like being just 100% high touch without technology, like a really high producing originator might be able to do X number of loans a month. Let's call it 6. But with the right technology, they can do 12. Then that's an amazing efficiency that for that originator, for the income they're able to bring home for their family, for the profitability of their institution, and the health of the overall industry.
Yeah, it's a great. I love the way you put that. Digital plus local, and then you have people, Clayton, where you just use the dinosaur. The person taking the 1003 on the paper. Yep. You also have a newer generation that have none of that and are all tech and making the same mistake by going all tech.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking, oh, this is what people want. No, any of you all that have seen, I think it's episode 9 of my podcast, Selling to the Millennial Buyer. If you've seen that one, no. They don't just want to be texted. Once they figure out what they want high touch. They want to completely trust you. They want to know all about that. How about agents? Talk about agents a little bit about what I mean. I'm telling you right now, I get asked. I cannot tell you how many times I get asked. They are freaking out about technology. I mean, just freaking out with everything that's in the news. What would you say to agents watching this? What would you say? What's the number one thing, the trend you're seeing? Where do they need to be? What do they need to be just pushing hard on right now?
I think the conversation we're having about loan originators and real estate agents is really similar. It takes that sorry, what's your version? Digital plus local, high touch plus high tech?
No, I said high touch, high tech. Use both. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So the lifeblood of the agent, the only reason like the agent will have a place in this industry for decades to come, is because of that high touch. They're often the owner of the relationship, the best person the best constituent in the process, the origination or the home sale process, at really building serious relationships with their prospects and past clients. And as you look at how technology can either threaten or enable real estate agents, it's if you don't continue to focus on high touch and continuing to be able to be that real point of contact and that friend and confidant and advisor to the homeowner or home seller or first-time home buyer, then that job, the real estate agent job, is really at risk. But some of the most basic yet interesting and empowering technology capabilities are tools that are helping us build stronger relationships and build bigger networks. And I mean, social media was the first at helping us take what traditionally you can manage 10, 15, 20 really close personal relationships and now have like 100 people that remember your name every week because they see you in your social feed, or you're able to send them a Facebook message or share interesting content on LinkedIn. It kind of brings you back to an internship I had in college. I worked for a financial advisor in UBS, at UBS in Greensboro, North Carolina. She was incredible at going through the local Greensboro newspaper every single day and clipping out articles about her clients' kids that hit a home run in their little league or got straight A's or honor roll in high school, and clipping them out, putting them in an envelope, and mailing them.
Snail mail.
Snail mail. But social media and then the marketing tools that are being adopted by top performing real estate agents today are enabling that same level of human interaction with the same degree of care, if you use them properly. Now, the risk is automation. And I think that there's some things that can be automated and processes that are amazing. But if you automate your client relationships, then you're setting the stage for what ultimately is disruption and what makes agents lose sleep at night.
We're gonna clip. I'm gonna clip. And I'm going to quote that. I'm going to put your name on there. If you automate, that's a great way. If you automate your customer relationships, you're running a huge risk. And it's funny. I talk about social media all the time, and I'm like, look, if your whole social media is filled, if you're an agent and it's filled with your listings, people are literally hitting unfollow. They don't want to see it. You think, oh, I sold a house one time 18 months ago because it was on there. Okay, good. What's happened since then is you've been unfollowed by 72 people or 7,200 people, because what they want to see is your kid in the soapbox derby or the filet you had last night for dinner. They don't want to see your listings in there. And then there's this other big, huge push with social media, which I think is just phenomenal, where, it's all automated. They're just paying someone to put the posts in there, right? And everyone's posts all look the same, and it looks so fake. Again, unfollow. And I tell them, I'm like, look, this isn't that hard. If you have a Droid or an iPhone, you literally just open the app and post something. This is not that hard. And you don't even have to, we're not talking about an essay worth of content. You don't need that. You just need to stay in front of them. And it's really cool that you said that. And I wasn't kidding when I said I want to use it, because I try to make the point all the time, and people sit in front of me with these big, massive eyes, like that just spent $500, paying a Facebook consultant, to do all their stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you could have paid me $0. And I could have done that for you in about 1 second. I could have literally gone through your feed and said, take that out and add these 5 things. And wait till you see the interaction you get. And I think it's a core thing with people where it's not that they're not really understanding what their job is. And their job really isn't to sell houses. Their job is to get referrals. And if they thought about it that way, if their job was to make, I call it making a set of NBFs or new best friends, you look at it totally differently. So what do you think about let's just go there. It's the elephant in the room. Everyone freaking out about Zillow right now. They're all a bunch of freak shows. Oh, Zillow's been taking all of our data forever. They're a sleeping giant. They've been waiting. Now they're going to take all of our sales, and they're going to take all of our mortgages. What are your thoughts on that?
So so part of my background, I was an investment banker at Royal Bank of Canada, I did M&A advisory. And part of my view on Zillow actually coming into the transaction is unless they do it at incredible scale, it's a very tough business decision for a public company, because companies that monetize on digital advertising and lead gen and that recurring revenue that comes from those channels, trade at a higher multiple than a mortgage originator. So jumping into the origination channel and potentially changing the category that Wall Street sees this public company as could be really dangerous at a board level and at a shareholder value level, unless they come in with massive, aggressive scale.
Yeah.
And you listen to, since their recent leadership change, and you listen to what Stan Humphries is saying, the projections that they're giving Wall Street right now aren't at massive scale. So that's what really kind of leads me to potentially believe some of the language in their reporting, that this is something that enables their home valuation process and improves the lead quality and creates a little bit of liquidity in the market. I kind of thinking them as like a market maker in a public equity. If they can clear homes that people just need to urgently get off their personal balance sheet, then that might improve the health of the market a little bit. That said, if I'm an originator or an agent, yeah, I'm definitely cautious and not building my whole business model around any single partner, be that Zillow or the $500 a month Facebook consultant. And I think that every originator, every agent, every loan originator, it has to think of themselves as building a business. And just as I don't place 100% of my business at HousingWire, all that risk with one supplier or one vendor, I wouldn't do that if I was an originator either. And so that's some of my view there.
So you're basically saying the same thing we talked about sort of off camera, and that is if you own your customer and you're the go-to source for your customer, you really shouldn't be scared of any technology. And then you very eloquently, people are going to love this show, by the way, you very eloquently put that, hey, you need to spend your time doing this. If you spend your time doing this, you're good. But you need to be aware of the technology, and you need to use the technology, but not overuse the technology. That is a huge, huge issue I'm seeing right now. Loan officers and agents, obviously they want to be efficient, or they want to try to do it the easiest way possible. And there's a line you cross, and once you cross that line, you start losing business all the time. I do this little drill, and I with top producing loan officers all the time. And what I do is I take, I call it credit pulls, so people you pulled credit on, minus what I call can't do's, meaning you can't do the loan, their credit is subpar, or they can't close within a certain amount of time. Divided by closings in a 12-month period. Okay, what's that percentage? And so you could have a delta of like 400 credit pulls. And I look at them and go, well, where'd those people go? Like literally, like where are they? Like, I mean, no. Like really, like where are they? Like what would have happened if you took that percentage up 4%? How many more loans was that? And they just look at me like freaking out, right? And I'm like, let me tell you where those people are. I guarantee you those people are gone, A, because you didn't follow up and follow through. But B, because you threw them into some technology, left them alone in a steel room, and they got cold and left. And they just kind of look at me and I go, you want to start making some calls? Let's call some people. Let's see who already bought a house. Let's see who already has a loan. Let's see who, and they're just like, sitting there looking at me. But those numbers have gone significantly up with technology. Years ago, with that technology not there, you had a very involved agent and a very involved loan officer on top of clients, and that pull-through number was much higher. Now that pull-through number is dropping. Sorry, go ahead, Clayton.
So I have a question for you. So in those conversations you're having with originators, you're saying 400 credit pulls kind of just go to the wayside.
Vaporize, yeah.
Are those people that are already working 70 hours a week and don't have any time to make those phone calls, or are those the people who are kind of sitting at their desk waiting for someone to walk in the door? So
Both.
Okay.
Both. It's a follow up and follow through. The best loan officers have the biggest challenges because they're getting the most leads. Okay. And, the best loan officers that have systems for that, a lot of the people that I work with have great systems for that. They're super uber top producers. And of course, their agent partners will line up to work with them because they're really helping their agents' percentage of pull through go through the roof. But it's interesting because what I find the culprit every time when I dig in, if I do a consult and I'm in someone's office for a day, like a top, loan officer closing 40, 50 loans a month, and I'm in their office for a day with all their people, the culprit when I am done, if there is a bullseye, and that we put it up on the wall, the culprit in the middle of that bullseye is technology, because they threw the people in there and thought that technology was going to hold them there. They're in there, so we're good. Oh, they're going to get an automated email every 4 days saying, yo, what's up? I know you're still looking for houses. We're here for you. Nobody cares. They don't care about that.
Automating the customer relationship.
That's exactly right, 100%. And some of that technology, some of the really good loan officers and honestly good agents in the country have fallen prey to that and used it and literally overused it and crossed the line. And now we're coming back when I'm doing some of these consults with agents and loan officers, and we're just backing it up. And again, I use the thing. Hey, it's a steel ball. We got to put a fur coat on this baby. Like this thing needs to be warm. There needs to be a way to make this warm for the customer. It's fine to use it. You got to use it. You're going to be more efficient. I think you said 6 loans to 12 to be more efficient. You got to use it, but you can't literally put them in there naked, in a cold room, because they don't know. I mean, the best example ever, the funniest example ever is if your dad watches this, he will laugh. Okay, if he's around, he'll laugh. But years ago, we had to get kids' ages. Okay, we had to get that for FHA and VA because if both parents worked, it was a debt. Child care was a debt.
Yep.
And you literally had to ask and put it on there. And it went into their, I know loan officers are going to go, what the hell are you talking about, Joel? Their back ratio. There was 2 ratios, not just a DTI. There was a front and a back. And you realize we're still asking customers for that. Most loan programs don't even care. You don't even need it. But it's still in there. We're still asking them. So we threw them in the steel ball, and we're asking them all kinds of whacked out questions that they don't even think they have to answer. And some of them get fed up and leave the steel ball and disappear. And they're gone. And if they're working with an agent that's not great at holding them in, these people are in the wind. they're completely gone. So it's funny. I mean, we're speaking the exact same language. I'm just in the dirt. I'm seeing it. I'm sitting there with the calculator going, look at how many people disappeared, and people want to throw up on themselves.
So when you're talking to that top originator who's
Uh-huh.
doing 40 or 50, they obviously have a goal. If they're talking to you, they have a goal in mind. What do they want to get? They want to get to 60, 100? Like what are they trying to?
I mean, the people that I work with, I'm very controlled. I'll go out 5 years. If we're closing 30, we want to get to 36. I'm all units. I don't care about volume. It's all units. That's what controls everything. And we are very, very tactically, but with a ironclad strategy marching up every year. If a client sits down with me and said, I close 30 loans a month, I want to close 60 loans a month next year, I will look at them and say, absolutely not, never happening, not going to happen. You have the wrong guy. Let me refer you to somebody else. Because if you do it my way, it's never going to happen. Because we want a predictable business, very predictable. But and that's a trend that I see as well when I talk to loan officers and real estate agents that are freaking out. One of the trends I see, technology, this, that. I said, look, there's one trend that's coming, and that is a guerrilla loan officer, and you're working for him. You know what I mean? Because you can't hang anymore. And same thing with agents. Like, you can't hang with your own business, even though you should be able to, because it's the old, what is it, the 80-20 rule? 20% of people do 80% of the business. I think in mortgage and real estate, it might be the 92-8 rule, probably. You know what I mean? If you look at average transactions per year, for the average agent for NAR.
Same with agents. Yeah.
It's the same deal.
When you're helping someone get to 30 to 35 to 40 over or a 5-year plan, and when I've listened to your podcast, a lot of your guests have other responsibilities. They have kids, they have spouses, they're involved in the community. I imagine a lot of them are hitting a time bandwidth. And as an entrepreneur myself, I often think about, all right, well, we're going to keep growing this business, but I'm already working for a lot of hours every week. So how do I continue to grow, and how do I develop operating leverage to keep the business charging forward? What are some of the blocking and tackling that you're advising LOs on? Is it more LO loan officer assistance? Is it or is it all in the process? And like, these individuals can become that much more impactful.
Well, the analogy I always use is, I always say to people, do you ever watch the Summer Olympics? And they say, yeah. And I say, have you ever seen relay racing? And they'll say, yeah. And I'll say, by the way, those races are not won between the lines. They're won at the baton pass. They're won handing off the baton. And the baton is the customer. And so as the customer goes through your system, what are you doing at the handoff? What's happening? How's it going through? And I usually reverse engineer is what I do. I sit down, we do job descriptions for the people that are already on the team, which, by the way, none of them ever have. Agents don't have them, loan officers don't have them. I ask them for them, and people look like they want to kill me. I'm like, look, you hired me, okay? You knew this was coming. If you want to get from here to here, by the way, and not work anymore, you want to raise your hourly rate, which is what it's all about. We have to start by looking at that, and then I have them do their job description, and it's amazing. And if somebody wants to compensate me to do what I call the JOEL mini LO cam, which is not cheap, but I'll sit in their office all day and watch them. If they can take what happens at 5 o'clock, it's very eventful, because I'm just going to watch, and I'm going to take notes and go, let me tell you what you did today. Let me tell you how much stuff you did today that was income-producing activity to build your business. By the way, it was 27 minutes, out of the 9 hours that you worked or whatever. But it's really, look, most great loan officers, incredible, great loan officers, are very good at influencing. They're good at getting people to like them. They're also highly technical. They can do both. They can get the loan closed and package it, and they can also get it. But that doesn't mean that they're great at running a business. And that's, for me, I'm more specialized. I'm not really a coach. I'm a business partner. You don't have to. I can come in and look at it and start structuring. A lot of people have the wrong people in the wrong jobs. As soon as we do job descriptions, I'm like, what? We have to, that person, no. This is why. Because you have the wrong person. I know she's great. I know she's awesome. I'm not advocating getting rid of her at all. I'm just saying she's in the wrong job. You need this person. That's very common. We'll switch. We'll take 2 people and we'll switch them, or 3 people and we'll switch them. Or, over time we start interviewing, for new bodies to bring them in. But I have a very specific way I do it. I customize to the client, because I work with a lot of really big producers. So I customize to the client. But the core of what we're doing is pretty much the same, meaning the flow of how that loan comes in, what happens when it comes in, what's said, who's talked to, that it goes dunk. The one thing we do is we never delegate core activities. A lot of loan officers and agents make that mistake all the time. I love it when agents are like, yeah, Joel, I want you to meet my team. And I'll say, well, cool. How many transactions did you sell last year? And they'll say, did you send did you do last year? And they'll say to me, I did 12 million. I'm like, no, that's not the question I asked. How many houses did you sell last year? And they'll tell me 12 million again. And I'll go, come on. How many, because I'm just getting at the units. I don't care about the volume, because someone in LA is going to be different than someone in Syracuse, New York, So I'll get to the volume, and then they'll tell me they have 5 people on their team. And I'll be like, what is everyone doing? You guys sold 18 houses. What is going on? I'm like, 5 people? You guys should be selling 180 houses. What's everyone doing? And they're all just running around doing who knows what. And that's why they bring me in here, because they're great salespeople. They're great at real estate, but, they're not great at necessarily running a business. And let's face it, the best loan officers in the country, the best real estate agents in the country are running businesses. They could be selling pencils, computers, glasses. Their product happens to be a loan or a house, and that's sort of what we do. But it's really, technology is always part of it, but I always work from a place where all the batteries died. And then we work backwards. I'm like, if there's no plan for all the batteries die, if you call me and you tell me, Joel, I couldn't do that because my battery died, we're in a big fight. And when I see you, we're going to be in a big fight. You better be able to have it automated, old school and, new school. But the best loan officers in the country, for the most part, they are business people. The best agents in the country, they are business people. They understand that their competition is really pretty weak. I mean, I'll just say that it is. They can just mow them down by working harder and working smarter. So it's we could do that for, 10 hours, meaning to really answer your question. I wasn't trying to be evasive, but it's a super broad question.
No, I know it's a big question and very nuanced for every originator, but it's interesting for me to kind of hear more about your interactions with originators and agents, since I have the pleasure of speaking to originators and agents all day long, but the conversation with media and a coach or a business partner is a little bit different. So it's interesting to hear the perspective that you gain through that.
Well, yeah, and what's so cool, everybody, I'm looking at the clock, and I know Clayton was supposed to be here live, and the reason he's not is he's got something to do, so I don't want to run him over his hard stop, but we could have literally, when I said mic drop, and we could have cut this off, I want you to go back. If you're watching this podcast or listening to it, I want you to go back and listen again to Clayton talking about the digital and local, or he said digital and local. I called it high touch, high tech, which are both great descriptions. I might steal digital and local. Actually, I might like that better. So I'll quote you on that. But I might actually steal that. But this is a guy whose pulse is. I would say HousingWire from a digital perspective, from an online perspective. You guys are it. You guys are probably one of the number one. Implodometer. That's over. Not many places are imploding anymore. But that's where people are going to get their news. That's where people are going to get. The pulse of what's going on. And he's basically saying, hey, you got to use technology, but you can't ignore the relationship. Is that a good paraphrase?
Spot on.
Yeah. And what do you recommend? I tell people all the time real quick, how often is HousingWire, I tell people to be educated all the time. I use BASOI, be a source of information. I learned that from my first boss, Pat Casey. If you're listening, you can smile right now, all the time. And, years ago, what I used to do is, when Mashable started, I used to either read the paper or I'd go in and just read a bunch of stuff. So I was educated. How often do you guys update this stuff on HousingWire? If people are watching this and they're like, ooh, HousingWire, cool, I need to look at that more. How often are you guys updating articles? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have different segments of our audience that have told us that they want information on a different cadence. So our organization, we have an independent news, independent newsroom of editors and reporters, and we're writing 10 to 15 articles a day. So there's a lot of new content on HousingWire.com and our social media feeds on Facebook and Twitter, and a little bit more curated on LinkedIn. But what we do is we have newsletters for respective segments of our audience. So our core newsletter is a daily update. It comes out twice a day. It's a lot of content, but it's meant more focused for the lending executives and the corporate leaders who are relying on a constant flow of information to do their jobs and make the decisions their organizations need. In the last year, we've really ramped up our focus on news at a cadence that originators and real estate agents are looking for. So last year, we launched a new newsletter called Lending Life, and we had a few focus groups, brought in originators that, hey, what do you want? When do you want it? How can we help you? And they told us we need news 2 days a week. We need to be the most informed originator in our community when we go out and talk to agents, and we need to be the most informed originator in our office when we have our weekly sales meeting. So we're going to give you a newsletter right before each of those occurrences, and put only in that newsletter is the information you need to be a smarter loan originator. So Lending Life, visit housingwire.com. Click on newsletters in the top right corner, and you'll have the opportunity to sign up. It's a free complimentary newsletter just for loan originators.
What about agents?
Starting May 1st. So I don't know when we.
By the way, this isn't a setup, people. I didn't know this. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
we're launching a newsletter and community just for real estate agents. So we went through a long recruiting process and hired a great editor. Her name is KK Halley. She's been writing for Bloomberg and Forbes for 15 years, covering news for real estate agents. She joined HousingWire. Right now, she's in an intense market research mode. She's talking to 100 agents in the month of April, learning everything they care about and want to know. And starting in May, we have a new newsletter launching called Open House. Again, it's a 2-day-a-week newsletter, one midweek and one on Sunday for a little reading material before your open house, and just for real estate agents. So
that's free. That's free. All they got to do is go on housingwire.com, go up in the right-hand corner, boom. I know the real estate thing isn't out yet, but for the loan officers, it's free.
It's free. Yep. Both are 100%
so no reason
free.
not to do it.
Yep, no reason not to do it at all. We're not going to blow up your inbox. It's a two-day-a-week newsletter just for you. And the cool part about it is we send our newsletters, our niche newsletters, directly from the editor. So if you like something, don't like it, respond and tell them. And if you have a tip or an insight or a perspective, or you just want to call us out for a typo, respond to the newsletter and let us know. We have just like we're kind of talking about the industry here about having high touch relationships. We want the same with our audience, and it's not always easy to send out a newsletter to tens of thousands of recipients and get individual responses, but we do it because we know it's the right thing for what we're trying to accomplish here at HousingWire.
That's awesome. Okay, well, everybody, Clayton Collins today, CEO and president of HousingWire. Clayton, this was awesome. Sorry I didn't get to meet you live time, but we'll set another one up. We'll get you here in the studio in D.C. Clayton coming to us from Dallas, and great guest. Listen, everybody, when you there's a lot of really great material in here. So like I always say, Big Joel Show, thank you so much for listening and watching. If you like what you saw, please let us know on YouTube, or we're on every major platform there is. And again, Clayton, thank you so much. I know you had a busy day today, but we really appreciate it. Thank you from me and all the listeners. Thank you.
Hey,